All right, so the Razer Blade Stealth for 2019 has been on the market for a few months now, but due to a $200 price drop, I'm going to take a look at it today and tell you why I still think it's a really interesting opportunity for those who like gamer-ish laptops. I'll explain. Stay tuned. All right, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about the Stealth in general. So Razer kind of calls it a gaming laptop, but you're all smarter than that. You know it's not really a gaming laptop. In fact, 13-inch Ultrabooks really aren't gaming laptops at all. They're just too small to squeeze in an actual NVIDIA card in there in terms of, say, a GTX or RTX card, a 2060 or 2070. It would take up so much of the board, your battery life would be terrible, thermals would be through the roof, it would be throttling, the fans would be loud, it just wouldn't be a good experience, which is why no one has really done it. Yet the Razer Blade Stealth exists in its kind of own world here. Now they are shipping it optionally this year with an NVIDIA MX 150, which again is not a gaming GPU. It does help though, and it's kind of nice to have, and I'd always choose it over, say, integrated graphics. Now the Razer brand has always been associated with high cost devices, and this one is no different, but I actually do think it justifies it quite a bit. And I'm going to talk about why overall in terms of laptops, this is actually one of my favorites to use. I'm surprised by that because I've always liked the Stealths, but I've never been in love with them. But for me, this has been one of the best laptops I've used this year, and I'm going to try to hold on to it until Razer really asks for it back. All right, now in terms of design for the Blade Stealth for 2019, I really like the way this looks. So there's no more rounded corners. It's all completely flat and squared. If you cut it in each angle, it'll be perfectly symmetrical. If you're familiar with facial beauty and how that's supposed to work, it's all about symmetry. This laptop is completely symmetrical. I just love the way it looks. Also love the way it feels. Now it only comes in black, which is a little bit unfortunate. There is a limited edition pink quartz, which I actually think looks really amazing. Kind of tempted to rock it myself, but as a guy, that's a little bit tough. But if you want that one, you do you. I think it looks really great. I do wish there was a white version like they do offer for the 15-inch though, and the 13. I think that would look really outstanding. Unfortunately though, you'll just have to wait for black. This is all metal, it's unibody design. It does pick up grease quite a bit. It's not terrible, but it is a little bit annoying if you're like me, you just don't want that on your laptop. Throwing on a third-party skin will probably fix that. I should also point out the logo itself is now very muted. It doesn't light up, nor is it green. I think it looks really good. I think we're all over this whole idea of glowing logos, but you have to decide yourself. I think it looks good though, and it was a smart choice by Razer. Now when it comes to ports, the change this year was they removed a full HDMI port, which is a bit of a bummer. I actually really like full HDMI, but it's kind of okay. You do have two USB Type-C, with one of those being full Thunderbolt 3. It works very well. The other one is power delivery, and they both can obviously use power delivery. You also get two USB Type-A's, and again, symmetry. You have 2 and 2 on each side. I think it looks really nice. You also, of course, get a full headphone jack, which is pretty good. All right, now let's talk about the display here. So Razer's always been a little weird on the Stealth series. They've always had huge, thick bezels, and that's been fixed this year, and I really like the look of this. Now, you still get a chin on there. We've talked about that a lot on this channel here. So that chin itself, I don't really care for. It's nice because it elevates the screen up, so you're not looking down as much, but obviously, I think a lot of you would agree with me here. Throwing in a 16:10 aspect ratio or even 3:2 would look a little bit better and fill in that empty space. Hopefully Razer will do that at some point. I think 16:10 would be really awesome. Now those bezels are really thin, and you also get two display options this year. You get Full HD, which is matte, non-touch. I wish it did have touch, but it doesn't. If you want touch, you gotta go up to the 4K version, which is gonna be glossy. The 4K version is really nice, but again, I think a lot of us are gonna agree 4K and a 13-inch, probably overkill. I would have been happy with a 2K option in general, but I am using the Full HD one here, and I really like it. First of all, it is a low watt display. That means it's only using 1 watt of power. Compare that to most displays, that's 2 watts. So that may not sound a lot, but it actually adds a lot to the battery life of this laptop, which is actually very good. We'll talk about that later. The display though is matte. It's very color accurate. They say it's 100% sRGB. We got around 98, so close enough. Brightness is also very good. It's over 400 nits is what we're getting. Again, very good brightness on here. I really like this display. I feel like I can just stare at it for hours. My eyes don't get tired. Acuity is nice. Color accuracy is good. Brightness is great. And it's low power. Can't ask for much more than that. Now, another new change this year is it has Windows Hello. Again, this is an area where Razer typically has skipped over, the biometrics. They didn't use fingerprint readers. They started adding Windows Hello. This one has it now. It's in the top bezel, so it works very well. It's a nice IR camera, even has a little green light that comes on, which again, I think just looks kind of cool, part of the whole aesthetic of this device. It works pretty well, but that camera is 720p, which is not a good web camera. I mean, it works. You can use it in a pinch. It's fine. It's top mounted, so that's cool, but it's not full HD, nor is the quality one of the best out there, so you just have to live with it. Audio this year is also a little bit improved. You do have 4 speakers that are top firing. Yeah, it mimics a little bit here how Apple does their MacBook design, but I'm happy with it. It works pretty well. It's still below Surface laptop, but these are very good speakers and I'm happy with them. Plus, a lot of times people are going to use headphones anyway, but these are definitely B+, A- speakers. Pretty happy with them. Now, when it comes to the keyboard, I'm always a little bit hit and miss with Razer, but these are actually kind of interesting keys. It's gonna be a little hard for me to explain, but they kind of almost feel like the maglev keys that Dell is using, the XPS 15 2-in-1, that's also coming to the XPS 13 2-in-1. Now, they aren't maglev, but they have a nice little pop to them almost as you're depressing them. It feels really cool. The travel is also pretty good on this. I really just like using this keyboard. They have added full-size arrow keys, which again, a lot of people prefer having those. There have been some complaints about the smaller right shift key. I personally do not care. I have never used the right shift key. But if you're one of those people that does rely on the right shift key, you're gonna find this one a little bit small and hard to use, so just keep that in mind. I didn't even notice until someone else pointed out, because that's how infrequently I actually touch that key, but it may be important. Overall though, pretty good keyboard design. I should point out, it is backlit, it does have RGB, it is not per key RGB this time, so it's just a single zone. Still pretty nice though. I can configure it to get my Evangelion theme here, which I just think looks really awesome. And they also now have the function keys lit up, which is really good. And you can set the function keys or media keys as default, depending on your choice, using the Razer Synapse software. That's all I asked for in life, and they delivered. In terms of trackpads, this is one of the best trackpads out there for PCs. I kind of wish everybody, whether it's HP or Dell, would just look at this and be like, let's just do that. It's huge, it's edge to edge. There's no wasted space here. I love the size, I love the shape, it's glass, it's precision drivers. It's just an awesome trackpad. I have had some issues with it occasionally stop working. I've seen this on Lenovo devices too. It's just a brief period where it pauses. It's usually when it comes from resume, but it's only once every few weeks I notice that, so it's not so big of a deal, but just keep that in mind. All right, now let's get to the nitty gritty here in terms of this being a performance or gaming laptop. So obviously it's not really a gaming laptop, but as you can see here, I do have an external GPU connected to it. We'll come back to that in a moment. You do get a Core i7 here, latest 8th generation. You can configure this with the MX150 GPU. I do recommend you get that option if you can. Now, that is not a huge GPU by any means, but this is a 25-watt one. It actually performs pretty well here. I'm comparing it to specifically the Huawei MateBook X Pro, which actually ships with the MX250. Now, the MX250, for most of you who are following, know it's not really much of an upgrade. In fact, this is beating that one. So this actually gets very good performance, which tells me also they have very good thermals on here. Now, that does allow you to do, I would say, 2D style platformer games on the go. Yeah, you can do some first person stuff on here, but you're going to have to really bring down those graphics. It does also help with video production and video editing or photo editing. It'll give you that little boost here. But this laptop sits in that weird space where a lot of people who are using this for video editing, if you use it frequently, will go for a 15-inch laptop, which actually has a real GPU in it instead of a 13. Now, when it comes to RAM, you'll get 2 options, 8 or 16 gigabytes, and it's DDR3, which for some of you, I know you guys like DDR4, and I get that, but people use DDR3 because it has low power savings. I think in this laptop, it actually makes sense, but I don't want to get too much into it. I've never really noticed a huge difference with RAM, but there you go. Should also point out that RAM is soldered on, so make sure you buy the model you want because you cannot upgrade it later. That's just a trend we see a lot in Ultrabooks these days, and it continues here. Comes to storage, you can get up to just 512 gigabytes of storage, which isn't a ton, but you can upgrade that yourself. It is a PCIe NVMe. They're using Lite-On on this model here, which is 500 gigs. It's okay. It gets 2,800 megabits per second for reads and around 1,000 for writes, which is a little bit on the low end. I personally, if I was buying this myself, and I may do it on this one, I would get like a Samsung 970 Pro or Evo. Now, when it comes to battery life, usually Razers aren't the top of the pack, but this one at least gets pretty good battery life. And I'm talking the full HD model, Core i7, 16 gigabytes and 512 gigs of storage. I'm getting around 8 or 9 hours out of this, which is actually really good, and it's that sweet spot for an Ultrabook. I never felt like the battery on this drained quickly. That's actually really nice, and that's partly because that display is low wattage. And also the 53 watt hour battery in here also helps. Now it does come with a 65 watt charger in the box, which is super teeny. I love the size of this thing, and 65 watt is really good. They could have squeezed in a 45 watt, which would have been a little tough with the MX150, but it still would have charged, but that 65 gives you that extra juice. It does do quick charge as well, so I actually really like this whole package, and that's kind of the reason why I like this laptop so much. I get good battery life on it, performance is very good. All right, now although the Razer Blade Stealth is not a gaming laptop, it's gamer-ish, especially for the aesthetics and some of its functions, Razer's hoping you buy something like the Core X Chroma here, which goes on sale for $399. There's also a cheaper version, which doesn't light up and do all the other fancy stuff, for $299. Now that's just the enclosure. You still need to bring your own GPU. We're running an RTX 2070 in this, which is pretty awesome when you pair it with this laptop. Now, there's nothing unique here, right? You can use this with any other laptop that has Thunderbolt 3 on board, or you can use this with any other external GPU system out there, because again, just Thunderbolt 3. But people are kind of buying into the whole Razer thing here for the whole aesthetic and the fact that everything matches. Does that make financial sense? Probably not. Is it a cool option though to have for people who do have that income and want to have that experience? Yeah, I absolutely think it is. It is a cool thing to have this all working together and all matching, all lighting up. I don't know, it's kind of neat to have out there. And they're really the only company that's sort of doing it at this level. Now, in terms of using external GPU, it runs very well here with the RTX 2070. We're getting outstanding frame rates here with our G-Sync monitor. Everything just looks really cool. I think it's a great option to have, and that's what makes this laptop a little bit more gamer-ish combined with that MX150. But again, that's sort of all in name only. Okay, let's bring it all in. Does this laptop make sense? I would say at $1,600, probably not. There are definitely better options out there, or at least lower cost ones. This though is on sale for $13.99 now, which is about $20 more than an XPS 13, also with a Core i7. But that one only has 8 gigs of RAM, not 16, has less storage, and doesn't have an MX150 on there. That gives the advantage here actually to Razer. So at this price point, I actually think this is a pretty good option. There's also Surface Laptop 2 up there, but now you're not getting Thunderbolt 3. You're definitely not getting MX150. You are getting a very good user experience. So there are a lot of choices in this range here. And I think once this price has dropped, as it did now for $200, I actually think the Razer Blade Stealth is pretty good. Now, in terms of things I don't like, I didn't care for the chin so much. I love to see Razer throw in a 16:10 display. And coil whine. Yes, this laptop actually has pretty bad coil whine. I contacted Razer about it. There are some others talking about it on forums as well. Not every laptop has it. Some people have tied it to the SSD, which seems weird to me, but I haven't tried it myself, so who knows. If coil whine really does bother you, but you're really interested in this laptop, I recommend going to Best Buy to try to pick one up. At least then you can get an easy return if it's a problem. Overall though, I really like the changes here that Razer has made, and I like the lower price point as well. I think this is a really exciting laptop for a lot of people, but it does have compromises. It's still not a full gaming laptop, and to be honest, I don't think we'll see a full gaming 13-inch laptop for quite some time, but Razer's done a good job here with the Stealth for 2019. I do wonder though, they're going to upgrade it again. They are very good at throwing in new hardware every 6 months, so we may see this get refreshed, but I'm not expecting any major changes. So if you buy it now, you should be good for at least a few years. All right, so there's our quick review of the Razer Blade Stealth for 2019. Now, if you want more information about it, you can go to the description below. We'll have the links there. Let me know in comments, though, what you think. Did Razer nail it here? What are they missing? Or what would you like to see change? And is that price a little bit better now for you? Let me know. Otherwise, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.